Good morning, students. Today we are going to learn the next chapter, that is file handling. In this chapter, we are going to learn the files, that is data files, how many types of data files are there, opening and closing of files in Python program, how we use files in a Python program, and what are the standard modes of using file. So let's start with the topic. So the what is file handling? Now, file handling is a method by which we can read the data or write data into the disk files. Now, what is disk files? Disk means hard disk. As you all know, whenever we create a file, it is stored in one of the drives of the hard disk. So, we are talking about those files which are stored in drive of the hard disk drive. So, these files are called as disk files. So, using a Python program, if we read data from those files and write data into those files, that is called as data file handling. Now, so far in our previous Python programs, what we were doing is we were taking input from the keyboard, we were displaying the output on the monitor. In between, the data is not stored. So now by using data file handling techniques, you can store the data in your disk drive also. So here we are going to learn the technique of storing data using data files. So what are data files? Data files contains data pertaining to a specific application, that is it is related to a particular application. That means a data file belongs to a certain type. So there are two types of data files, text files and binary files. Now what is text file? A text file always store data in the form of ASCII or Unicode characters. Now what are Unicode characters and what are ASCII characters? For example, here an example is given. If you are going to store the data computer, now you can see that this is a string type of data, but in text file, rather than storing the data that belongs to a particular type, it will store the data in the form of characters, that is COMPUTER will be stored using 8 bytes. C 1 byte, O 1 byte, M 1 byte, P 1 byte, U 1 byte, T 1 byte, and E and R same. So it will take 8 bytes according to the number of characters in the data. Again, if the data is floating value, we don't care about the floating type value. We only see the characters, that is 1, 1, 2, 3, 7.9876. Including the point, there are 10 characters. So this data will take 10 bytes. In text files, whenever a line is there in the text file, each line is terminated by an end of line character, EOL. So what is an end of line character? It can be of two types, either /n, that is \n, or \r can be used as an end of line character. What is /n? You all know \n means a new line. That means after reading the first line, a new line character, that is end of line character, will take the cursor to the next line, and a \r EOL will take the cursor to the beginning of the same line. It is also known as carriage return. As you all know, these two are escape sequences which you have studied in class 11th. I hope you understood that in text files, each line is terminated by a end of line character. It can be a new line also, it can be a carriage return also. New line will take it to the new line and carriage return will take the cursor to the beginning of the same line. Now binary files. What are binary files? As text files save data in the form of characters, binary file saves data in the form of the data type according to the data. That means data is stored according to its data type, and no transformation or translation occurs in binary file. A binary file does not have a delimiter, that is end of line character. It does not have anything for a new line or the same line. Now binary files are faster and easier because it saves data in the same form in which it is there, and it is easier for a program to read and write binary files rather than text files. Now data in binary files cannot be directly read. We have to use Python programs to read data or to write data in a binary file. So the same method goes for binary file also. We will use a Python program for accessing data from the text files and binary files and writing data to the text files and binary files. So let us see some of the steps. First step is opening the file. Always whenever you are using a file, either it is a text file or binary file, you have to open it. Then you have to perform read and write, and then you have to close. These three steps are compulsory in a Python program using file handling techniques. Now, the first step, opening a file. How we open a file? There are some methods. Now, first method is using an open method. An open method is already defined in Python. So, whenever you want to open a file, write the file object name. You can see the syntax. File object equals to open, and inside the parenthesis of the method we have file name. You have to write the file name which you want to open for reading and writing. Now you can write the file name comma mode also. What is mode? For example, if you want to read the file only, you have to write the mode R. If you want to write into the file, you have to write the mode W. All the different file modes we are going to study later, but by default, if you are not mentioning any mode, it is by default as read mode. So you have seen open method. You have to create an object of the file. An object is just a variable which stores the address of the file, where the file is stored in the disk. So that address, that reference will be assigned to the file object. So a file object always contains the address. That is why it is known as an object. So an object